Kraft into the studio somehow. I don't know what's going on, but I figured I'll just get started and let's see what happens. Okay. So the idea of, oh, there she is. It worked. Hold on a second. Let's see if we have audio for her. Gail, can we hear you?
I can hear you. I'm on
Oh
my
my God,
phone. I'm
it
on my
worked.
phone. My computer won't let me in, so we're doing this by New School by phone.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
But
So we're
okay,
we're, we're
beautiful.
good.
Okay.
All right. Today we're going to talk about marketers. We're going to talk about marketers. Why do we want to talk about marketers? The idea of guru and sages is that sage wisdom is transmitted to those who are ready to receive it. You get yourself in a certain state. You are able to open yourself up. Gail and I both had this experience in very, very different ways and are able to receive ideas and wisdom that are helpful to various people. The difference between what we're doing and what sages are doing, which is not necessarily bad, it can be or it cannot be, is they are creating a program or an experience or a book or something out of their own personal experience only. So it's not as comprehensive. Now, there's a lot of implications of that. So the question I have, Gail, is do you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on gurus versus sages? And let's talk about marketers.
Um, yeah. So gurus have what I would consider the intellectual property. They know they have the tools, they have the techniques, right, to get you out of whatever situation that you're in and move you to another level. But they don't have the intuitive power to give you specifically what you need to really excel, to really make it to the next level. I actually, Larry, record my sessions with clients because I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't because
Right.
it's I'll often say, I was planning to do this, but I'm feeling this is what we should be talking about. So forget it. This is where we're going, right? So yeah, if it weren't for recording, I'd be in deep poop because my clients will say, "What did you just say?" And I'll be, "I don't know."
So I think there's different experiences. So Gail is essentially opening to access to a wisdom that is coming through her. My approach includes some things like that, but it's different. It's not direct coaching. It's more of a system.
Right.
So what my experience has been, I've received a system that is comprehensive for people to use, and I don't really understand exactly how all of the elements of that system came together. Um, so if you look at its application, it just works. It
Right.
just fits. It's a perfected system that just is here. That's kind of how I look at it. So what does this have to do with marketing then? I think that we need to market what we're doing. So how do we market what we're doing in a way that's ethical and that fits with our values and our particular markets?
That is the question. I will tell you my early experience in this realm, and I was still following my instinct, but not as open as I am now. And I followed, here's the marketing plan. I followed to the T. I met every week with a network marketing guru, with a marketing guru, with a business process guru. I had 5 coaches, right? Right? To get my business going. And I, did the funnel, the whole 9 yards, pulled the trigger. And you know how many clients I got? Zero. Zero. Time, money wasted. And after, a couple of tears and firing everybody, I sat down and I said, well, what's the problem here? And the answer was, well, the problem is you're trying to follow a process that has nothing to do with who you are organically,
Mm,
right? And so the key to and these systems, by the way, are fantastic. Some of these systems are absolutely fantastic if it's the right business. But
yes.
take a look at how you fit in to the processes and adjust accordingly.
So in 2020, in the summer, I discovered Russell Brunson. So
Right.
I did the 30-day one funnel away challenge. And I looked back at my notebook last week when we decided to talk about this. And I was like, I did a pretty good job. I looked at it and I was like, I didn't know anything about this kind of marketing. And, I kind of nailed it. And yeah, it was a big flat wipeout. And I evolved from there. So I moved on to Sam Ovens, and I realized Russell Brunson has some good principles, but there's no sage wisdom in any of it, really. So
Right.
I moved on to Sam Ovens, who some people may know him. If not, look him up. There's a lot of wisdom in what he's doing, and he's got the marketing down. And then on the wisdom side, I think he came to it later than he realized. I think he was given a lot of things and insights, but hadn't really absorbed them yet, but was still teaching them,
That's
uh,
fine.
which is fine. And that's my own experience too. But I do think he got to the point where he realized that there is a connection into my life related to this, where I'm doing this for a greater cause. And that's a big shift. And that has to do with impact on the life of others. So
Right.
now he's moved to a completely different area where he's focusing on helping people build communities based on the things they love to do. And when I saw that, I thought that is an application of marketing for a very specific type of person that matters.
Right. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I have a dear friend who she discovered that she says community saved her life. And as a result has created her own community, right? And it's esoteric, and it's not for mainstream for sure, but she has her group that is growing exponentially because she is true to who she is and what she's discovered.
It's so important. And then I moved on to Alex Hermosi, who personally I really like. I have a lot of respect for him, considering what he's accomplished in the world. And what I find is there's a big gap between what he thinks he knows and what he doesn't know, and the wisdom piece of it. And here's how to identify that. So if you want to learn techniques, how to create offers and things like this, Alex Hormozy is a good place to go. How to do lead gen and things like this. But if you really want foundational understanding of yourself and how to bring that out into the world from a marketing standpoint, it's not the place for you. And I think he will evolve to that. I'm absolutely convinced of that. But I think what's going on is that he is focused on an outcome that's not coming from his true inner self. I think the outcome is an outcome of, I want to go from 100 million to a billion. It's like that kind of thing. And the system is constructed for that. So that's one way to tell. When somebody's system is all about external measurable outcomes, you're dealing with a limited guru-based kind of knowledge.
I love that. So I was presenting at a 2-day event this week, and one of the conversations I had with those participating is the difference between um, a mission statement, if you will, and an infinite mission statement,
Oh, that's good.
right? Right? Because an infinite, and I said my mission vision will never be reached because it's infinite.
Hmm.
But the energy and the drive and the juiciness and the deliciousness behind wanting to do it keeps me invigorated every day.
You said something very interesting. So I see this a lot. So there's a lot of people who talk about, we're going to work out your why, we're going to work out your purpose, we're going to work out. I know. Let's talk
I'm
about this
sorry,
for a
did
minute.
I move my eyeballs? I'm sorry.
Right. Let's work on your vision, what makes you happy, all this stuff. So what's really going on is those are external factors. And it's not that it doesn't matter. It's not that it's not important. It's just it doesn't matter. So it's useful. But the mission stuff that matters, the vision stuff that matters, is an internal energetic system that's being opened up.
Right. It's that feeling. And so I'll get a little risque. It is sensual and it is sexual. It is orgasmic because
Yeah.
it lights you up,
That's never quite happened literally for me in that way, but, I get what you're saying.
right? Right. And so so I'll share a story with you back in the day when I didn't know what I was doing, but I always followed my instinct. I didn't realize that I was tapping in.
Mm.
And so I was working in this, huge insurance company, and I had success after success after success. I was like Midas. Everything I touched turned to gold, right? And I can remember succeeding at getting something up and running and looking at my boss and thinking, my God, I could throw him on the table right now and go at it. And he was not attractive to me at all. But because of the energy that was going on, and I thought, what is going on? I didn't realize, I didn't know then, right, how the body reacts to the energy,
Mm.
right, that you're giving off. But it was so exciting. And that's what I feel now, that kind of excitement and and it's just beautiful. And I have no idea every day what I'm going to be doing and where I'm heading. I'm just doing it.
So for me, the embodiment of mission and vision and personality and action and the type of impact you're making comes from understanding the deepest part of your inner blueprint. So I'll give you an example. I am an explorer. There's 12 options in my system, at least. I'm an explorer for mission, and thinking is a part of that. That supports the exploration. When I create a vision, it has to be around truth telling. That is an innate, immutable, archetypal, imprinted. Now there's 12 options. That's mine. Um, if you don't know your options, you're not going to get where you want to go. You've
Oh,
got to embody
absolutely.
those things.
Absolutely not. So, and I don't know if we're alike. I'm what's called a mission realmer. What does that mean?
Mission roamer.
Realmer, like the
No.
realm, REALM,
Okay. And,
right?
and what does that mean? I'm going to try to fit it into my system because they're all the
Right,
same.
right.
They're all
So
the
what that
same. They just
means,
use different
so
words.
it has a couple of components. One is I have no choice but to tell the truth.
You're a
I
truth teller. That's my vision type.
right.
Yep.
I have no choice. I can envision the trajectory of where we're going. So almost a fortune teller. I can see what's down the line and can change our trajectory accordingly, right? Another reason why I was so successful in business because I could see where we're going, right? But the other thing is I have to be on the move. I need freedom. And so in my younger days, the programming of get married, get a family, buy a house, put the roots down, why was I unhappy? Because I needed to go. So now I have a home base, but I am constantly looking for the next time I'm going on the road trip, the next time I'm taking a plane ride, the next time I'm going away to an event, right? Because that's how I serve my purpose.
So I'm looking to the side screen here at my 12 personality types, which is one of the five in the internal system.
Mhm.
And I am a visionary of the 12. And I think you may be the same.
I think so. That's
But
probably
there's
why we
also
resonate.
Maverick. There's Maverick and there's Trailblazer.
Yep.
So the Maverick is disrupting the order. Different
Always getting in trouble.
the trailblazer is going into new unknown territory. These three things are very different. So which one do you think you are? The visionary
I
creating that?
I love the unknown territory.
Yeah. So
I
you're
I love like getting in my car. So
Mhm.
so I took a road trip across the country, and everyone's like, "Well, where are you going?" And my answer was yes.
Right.
And 10,000 miles later, I came home or came back, right? Really excited about, the experiences that I had, good and bad. I had some pretty horrific experiences and I had some pretty amazing experiences.
Suffering in part is caused by not embodying your inner blueprint.
Yes, it
And,
absolutely is.
and it's self-inflicted.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. The dysfunction of not honoring who you are is severe. And, Ari, it's worse when you know who you are and you don't really. I
And they
mean, it's
don't
one
do it.
thing like when you're blind, you don't know.
Yeah.
But when clients come to me, and this is a soul realignment process that I do to find out what is your blueprint, right? Um, I tell them, okay, we can do this, and I will tell you functional and dysfunctional, how that shows up in your life. But understand, once I tell you and you're aware that the karmic consequences are worse.
Hmm. Let's talk about karmic consequences. I've been staying away from the word. I call them personal patterns, just to make it a little, but that's what it is, right? So in karma, what I've found is we have three main areas that we're kind of working on, with one being primary. And there's there's eight within three groupings. So there's mind, and then there's action, and then there's impact. You must, and this is a must, if you feel a heavy weight, so I'm not talking about being unhappy, I'm talking about like weight,
Right.
weighted down, you have a karma problem
That's a
that I want
heaviness,
to work
man.
through.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it's heaviness. So what's your experience with that and discovery of it and sort of freedom
So,
from
so
it?
yeah, karma is the universal law of cause and effect, right? So karma has no judgment. It's not good or bad. It just is. What you send out, you will get back. How you get it back, who knows? I'll give you an example of just this. I was at an event this week, and after lunch, I walked into the room. There was a gentleman there, and his heaviness was bringing the energy of the room down. It was just him and
Mm,
me. I'm like, whoa. So I walked over, and I literally had a hard time getting him to talk about what was bothering him, even though he wanted to.
mm,
Right?
that's suffering.
Oh man. And then I looked at him, and I said, I want you to tell me, if you could see what you're feeling, if it was an item, what is it? And he had like a steel wall in front of him in his body,
Mm,
right? A steel wall. And so I had to move the wall out. I said, he wasn't ready to get rid of it. I said, but what you can do, let's put it behind you. I said, but you're dragging it with you now. When it's behind you, you're dragging it. So let's put it on wheels, right? So that it's still behind you. So you're not getting rid of it. So don't be afraid. If you need whatever this is doing, you just call it forward, and it's on wheels, so it can come forward really easily and go back very easily. How does that feel?
mm.
And he was actually breathing.
Oh,
Yes. Yes. And this is, so some people can visualize like that and move their energy. And I was just moving his energy out of his way.
energy out of his way. So what I found in my experience is that there's two ways to deal with the karmic issue. So the first way is inside yourself. The second way is through good works, you could call it, if you go to a religious,
Mhm.
viewpoint on it. For me personally, the main karmic pattern is called vision realized. I call it vision alignment. And then the second is unconditional relationships. What that means is I've always created businesses based on an external condition, always looking for a result of some sort, as opposed to an impact. That is a misalignment of vision. The other part of it was I misaligned it with my vision type, my vision preference, which is truth teller.
Right.
Instead, I was servicing um, business owners related to sales. So it was the opposite of truth telling. It
Yeah,
was just trying to keep
exactly.
them happy. I was always just trying to keep them happy
Yeah.
and get them money, make them money, which wasn't really what they really needed anyways. It's what they thought they needed. And yes, you need money, but there was a more deeper need there that I didn't care about. And having that karmic block is a problem.
You you don't think clearly. And what's really important for people to understand is what's right for you and what's right for me are not the same thing. Right. So that's why I say that karma has no judgment
Right.
whatsoever. It's really all about alignment of your energy. And if your energy isn't flowing, right? And which is what the first thing I was trying to do with this guy is just get your energy to flow before we can even talk about karma, right? If the energy isn't flowing, then there's no way that you're going to be able to clear your karma, right? And it doesn't, to me, because believe me, we all have lots of, karma, good and bad. I just go internally and take a look at, so what's going on here? What am I feeling here? What's the story that I'm telling myself, right? And what's the lie around the story that I'm telling myself, and what's the truth that's in the middle of that?
So if we go back to marketing on this piece, if you
Mm-hmm.
really want to get what you've always wanted, think about your business in terms of who you're doing it for and what the impact on them is.
Right.
So you may think you have a purpose-driven business because you're saving the planet or you're, doing something like that, but it may not have a karmic impact
Right.
because the thing you're doing has a limitation to it or a condition on it because of something that's not coming from your deeper self. You may think you need to do it because it gives you a feeling of status or importance or something outside of the connection. And in that case, it's not going to work the way you think it's going to work.
Absolutely not. Even Simon Sinek, who is the why guru, has recently written a book called, I think it's The Infinite Mission or The Infinite Statement, all about
Interesting.
stepping beyond the why.
Oh, so he evolved. So that let's talk about
He's
him.
evolved.
He's
Yes.
so interesting to me because when I heard his TED Talk, I was like, boy, this guy really gets it. And then as I learned more about myself, I realized I felt like, no, he doesn't, because it's conditioned on things like getting the job you want,
Right.
or being the leader you want to be. Those are conditional states. Those are not unconditional states of being.
Right.
But now what you're saying is he's evolved beyond that.
He has. I don't think he's making money like he did on the why, right? And his book is very dry, but I had to do the audio on it, quite frankly. Right. But I was replaying sections like, holy crap, what did he just say? Like, wow, listen to him go. So it was very exciting for me, right, to read. I think it's the Infinite Mission Statement or something like that. Anyway, look it up. It's Simon Sinek. So that is one of the issues that when we write a book, like I wrote a book 10 years ago, and I'm think I want to rewrite it because I've changed, I've evolved,
Mhm.
right? And my hypothesis was true. That's true. But my approach to the hypothesis is different now,
Yes.
right?
Um, yeah, it's so interesting. So I've been looking at Jim Rohn. I've been
Yeah,
looking at Zig Ziglar. I've been looking at Napoleon Hill later. So I think Napoleon Hill, after Think and Grow Rich, had a revelation. So he did, I believe, go to the next level of
right,
internal understanding. That's become clear to me. Not at Think and Grow Rich, though. He was getting there, but he wasn't there.
right,
Um,
right.
Now, what these people have done, Les Brown, there's another example. They have found a way to meet people where they are with enthusiastic stories that are understandable. And I think for people like us, and I think maybe Simon Sinek's going through this now too, um, we want to tell the truth about our experience to people who can't understand it.
Well, yes, and that's why the book that I have coming up, right, Journey to Enlightenment, takes the misunderstood or the confusing woo-woo stuff that is way out there and makes it relative and actionable. Because if we don't relate to it, we glaze over and we say it's woo-woo and it's magic and it's mystical crap, and it's not. It's just that we don't understand it.
Yes, well, we have to experience these things. And
Right.
if you look at Buddhism, um, uh, the Buddhism was successful because the Buddha was basically told by his inner being to go help people. And he refused the call at first, which is how these things work. So the hero refuses the call, and then he was able to learn how to meet people where they were in the society in which they lived. And this is what all of us need to be doing. And I think marketing, we're talking about marketing again. Marketing is making timeless wisdom understandable and usable to people who are ready for it.
We're ready for it. And that's the other thing. Not everybody is ready or at the same level at the same time. I have a friend, and we talk about partnering, and we will, with people who will take folks who are just starting this journey. And that's where the guru has to come in. So they're the gurus, and they're going to help you break through whatever. But there's a certain point that person's going to get to where that guru is not going to help them anymore.
Mm-mm.
And that's where we will step in and say, I love the fact that you have shed, the casing that's around you, but now you're raw and you don't know what to do.
Yes.
Right.
So these are known kind of processes that go on in the human world. And the way you can think about it, if you're listening to this, is these are called suspension states or existential crises or
Mhm.
transition moments of truth or dark night of the soul moments or whatever you want to call them. But I call them almost there. For entrepreneurs who feel like, oh my God, I'm almost here, I'm almost there, and you're
Yeah.
never really going to get there. Living in the world you're living in. In other words, you're going
Right.
to have to make an exponential leap to truth. Into truth, it's a leap. It's not a thing you learn. So you can't learn another thing to do it. You have to have a personal experience to make that leap.
And what's interesting, when it happens, you just know.
Yes.
you,
Yes.
you just know. And it's not a destination. You don't get there and go, hey, I'm enlightened now. I got there. I've got the answers. Honey, you just start. You're just now at another level,
Yeah.
right? And are aware of things even greater than you were aware before. And the more you learn, the more questions you ask.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So here's the myth. So Zen Buddhism is a perfect tradition that leads towards enlightenment for those who are able to follow it consistently. That enlightenment on the other side of it is not a state of, oh,
Yeah.
feeling like perfection. It's not. It's inner perfection. It's a feeling that
Mhm.
nothing is missing inside you, and you've seen your truth, and you understand how the world actually works. So all of your belief systems are gone. Everything that we are taught is wrong, and the impact of that inside yourself is gone. And then you have to do the dishes.
You know, and one of the and I've said this again this week. This is a game. Life is a game. It is not so serious and so heavy. One of the things when I was in business, Gail, we have to have this project done by such and such a date, according to who and why, right? And I would ask that seriously, tell me why, according to who? There's got to be a reason why that date was chosen, right? Well, because it's the end of the fiscal year. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me. What
Yeah.
if this takes longer, right? Oh, your bonus is attached to it. Now we're
Now we're
talking.
starting to understand.
Right now we're talking. So if
Right.
if it comes 3 weeks later, it's not going to impact the business at all, but
Yeah.
it's going to impact your wallet. I see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So from a practical standpoint, how do you know? How do you know when you're ready? So my way of looking at it is that you feel a sense that something's missing. What you've been doing isn't working anymore for you, even if you're still getting results. The results are starting to collapse because you can't do the things that were getting you the results. You feel this sense of of desperate optimism, of this feeling like you're almost there and it's like right around the corner, but there's just something in the way and you can't quite figure out what it is. And that's a dangerous place to be because that's when you start throwing money at gurus. A lot
Right.
of money, typically.
Right. So for me, when I was at that point, because we get there before we move on, right? I really felt almost like desperately lost.
Yeah.
right? Desperately lost. And I had no one to talk to because I had no way to explain why. I didn't know why.
Yeah, me neither.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Right. And
neither.
so I thank God for the terrible things that happened in my life that pushed me to the growth. And what Larry and I are saying is you don't go that far. When you're
Well, you
feeling that,
probably have to though.
right? There are people who can help you figure your way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting state because it's consistent for humanity, but it shows up differently inside
Right.
any individual. And what we're doing as entrepreneurs is we think the next level result will resolve the condition. So for me, I thought if I can just get it to whatever that means, if I can just make it more meaningful, it could be.
Right.
But that's an illusion
Of
because
course.
that's meaningful for what? So I can feel better.
Right. I was going to say define what meaningful is. Define that word.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You don't know what you want until you know yourself fully.
Right.
You can't know, and that's the problem here is that people think they know themselves, but what we're talking about, and I'm going to explain it, is you're empty and you have a deeper self, and it's waiting for you to wake up, and it's sending you pain to
To
get you
wake you up.
to wake you up. That's what it's doing. And what's happening is as you improve your elevation of consciousness, you are opening more space for that deeper self to emerge. What we're talking about is an integration experience where all of a sudden the deeper self is you
Because it is.
because it is.
I,
Now,
I
when
like,
you're
of course
there,
it is.
now you can make decisions about what you want because you know what you want.
And even if you don't know what you want, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? I don't have a deep desire for this or for that. I have a feeling for where I want to move, right? And so I'll hit the event again this week. So I had, certain things I was supposed to cover. I didn't cover any of them. I got up there and felt what the audience needed, and that's what we talked about. On the second day, they wanted to talk about the I am. And I said, well, before we talk about the I am, I want to do a meditation. So take me off the afternoon, put me on in the morning. Right. And the meditation was to peel away the who you think you are right now.
Hmm,
Because otherwise they're going to be, I am an accountant, I am a
right.
salesperson, I am a right. That's not who you are. And when you we identify with these things that is transitory,
Hmm.
and then we get disillusioned and disappointed because we attach our identity to something that is unreal,
Hmm.
right? And the I am, right? Later on in the day, there was another gentleman, and he was so hiding himself in a variety of ways. And one of the other speakers got on him about it. He goes, I want you to start facing who you are. And the gentleman, kind of fought against it a little bit. I said, were you part of the meditation this morning? Did you even participate? Because that's what that was all about.
Hmm.
Think about what we talked about during that meditation, because the beautiful person that's inside, you're covering up and you're smothering.
So for entrepreneurs, we're focused on the vision. So there's a I want the vision. So I want the vision. I don't need it. I want the vision. I am strongly motivated to realize the vision, and it's going to happen in my experience because it's already happened. I just haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah.
But I am going to exist within this lane of vision. It's part of my makeup. It's part of what I'm supposed to be doing. It is part of my karmic burden to unravel to realize this mission or a vision. And other people are different. They're doing different
Right.
things.
Right. And so mine is a mission versus a vision. Right. and it's about opening those hearts up so that people can then take that journey, right? And finding the blocks, like that metal blocks, and moving them out of the way so that you can let your energy flow and take the journey that you were supposed to be here for.
So to me, success for the people that are around me and for me with Red Pill Pathway is about being on that public stage with a vision that has a karmic impact on a group of people who are ready for you and elevating the evolution of the human society. So you are making an impact that is evolutionary. Um,
Right,
and that to me is my measurement, which can't be measured,
right,
of right of success. So when I say what's a top 1% entrepreneur on my YouTube channel, what I'm saying is inner state of freedom, a feeling of satisfaction around a vision that has an impact, karmic impact, not just social good impact. That may not have a karmic impact. It depends. It may. Um, and gives you a sense of happiness that's not conditional on the situation you're in.
yes. It's unconditional, and that's, maybe next week we'll talk about some of the stuff, because I had conversations about, what's unconditional love really mean? I mean, what does that really mean? Because you have to take expectations and attachments out if you want real unconditional love. And we have been grown to actually attach and depend. You fulfill me.
Yes.
You make
All the
you make me
Hollywood movies
whole.
are teaching us this bullshit.
Right? It's all bullshit, right? And then the poor person who fulfills you, what about them? They're fulfilling you and they're getting exhausted and they're fulfilling you and they're fulfilling you. And then, something goes wrong and they have to come and fulfill you. Shoot me, right? Right? That's exhausting. I'm not there to fulfill you, right? I had a client who one time said, "You're not making me feel good." And I said, "When did I tell you that was my job?" That's your job.
So I was listening to Sadhguru, who I love on YouTube, and this woman asked him a question, "Why are we here?" or something like this, and he says, "How should I know? I didn't create it." And he said, "I gave you that answer because of the way you asked me. You didn't come up here tearfully and say, 'Why is my life the way it is?'
Right?
Basically gave me this intellectual question, so I gave you a smart alecky answer." He didn't say it that way, but what he was saying is that fundamentally, um, he said, "I am here to make you uncomfortable." That
Yeah,
is important. If you run across somebody who's selling you something and they say that I'm relieving your pain, if it's code messaging, marketing, persuasion, authority, social proof, all of this kinds of stuff, where you get a feeling of, if I do this, I can be like them. You have run across a problem. Do not buy from them. It is not going to be a good experience. If you think deep down, I'll be like Alex Hormozy if I do Alex Hormozy's stuff. Don't do Alex Hormozy's stuff. Start to explore your inner state of being. And
exactly, exactly. And you just never know. Um, I had a client yesterday that he and I have been working together for years. And so you just never know. And we came to a point, and I said to him, I said, "We covered this about 4 years ago,
mm,
and you backed away from it." I said, "And it keeps coming back up. Do you now think it's time that we don't back away from it?" And he said, "I'm ready this time." I said, "Okay, let's deal with this." And so we started talking about unpacking what was going on, and why it's there, and what action he can take to step out of that fear and into the light.
mm. I never follow up with anybody after I talk to
No,
them.
me neither.
And I don't use sales and closing techniques. I
No,
don't learn NLP techniques. I don't learn any of I have no techniques. I'm just telling people my experience and what I see in them that I think they can handle. Like if I may see something where I'm like, I shouldn't say this right now, I don't. But when I feel like it will be helpful, I'll say it. When people are ready, they'll do the right thing. Here's what's going on. We're synchronicity moments for each other. That's what's really happening. So that system has to be allowed to perform.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And this is why when he backed off of that particular, it's not that he didn't continue on a growing journey, he just backed off of that piece and just moved on. Right. But this is an incredibly important piece for him. And he is so freaking enlightened. It's amazing.
So he
Right.
had a
But
leap.
right. He's ready for the next leap. He's ready for the next leap,
Yeah.
you know.
I
And
want to talk about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So there's an in between group. So we've got the sage wisdom, which is not coming really from the individual. It's being, in a sense, provided to them. I don't really take credit for what I've got. I didn't do it. I allowed it to come to me.
Right.
And then you've got gurus who are helping with technical things related to externals. So we've got that of various shades. So you have the false prophets who are appearing as sages but aren't, and you need to see through them. The emperor has no clothes. And then you have what I would call the super advanced gurus who have mastered the human domain. So, for example, Ray Dalio, Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett. I do not see those people as sage enlightened. I don't hear that ever. But what I do see is an incredibly deep understanding of their domain of expertise. And there's significant value in that because we live in this world.
Right. Right. We're in this dimension, ascending, if you will. That's what the word being tossed around isn't biblical. We're not going to leave this body and ascend. Right. We're still going to be in this body, and so we're still going to have these. We still need to eat. We still need to communicate and interact with people. But our perspective on what's real and not real, and what truth is, will be significantly different.
The life experience is significantly different. And when you see a quantum leap program and it's real, like a Price Pritchett's, that's what's happening. It's a quantum leap into a realm where time and space and matter exists and are important, but not, well, they don't matter. So they exist and are important, but don't matter, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm articulating that
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. And that sounds so cruel, right? I've said to folks, well, I don't care. And I don't mean to be mean, but I don't. Right? It doesn't matter, right? It's like that deadline for that project. It really doesn't matter when we finish the project, other than you want to get a bonus. And that bonus, to the betterment of the company or the clients or whatever, it doesn't matter. When you can take that pressure off, at least from my perspective, things happen. That's why I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do today to achieve what it is that I'm thinking I want to achieve, but it just happens.
Mm. So this idea of detachment and this idea of wanting and willpower and persistence is important to understand. Every wisdom tradition has a significant component that includes all of that. You do not, yes, so there's a paradox. It's very difficult to explain, I think, in this culture.
Yeah.
You don't manifest money in your bank account by sitting in the woods meditating. It doesn't work.
The trees don't dump money on you. No.
It's not what Gail and I are saying. Or get what you want. What we're saying is you have a vision that you want to realize. You have a view of the world that you want to realize, and you care, and you know it's going to happen. You believe completely in your essence, and that there is a abundance of opportunity constantly, but that you have no idea how to make it work.
But you know that it will.
But you know it will. You surrender and detach.
Right.
Surrender to the process, detach from the outcomes.
And so sometimes, so let's go to vision boards. Because I have some friends that's their thing, right? Not mine. But that's their thing. Okay. And here's what's happening. If you are being realistic about what you want, and you have to have something physical to see what that might look like, because you can't imagine it, that's fine, right? But don't put up there something that you subconsciously know you're never going to achieve because you don't believe it. So even with this is why vision boards fail, right? Because you don't believe you're going to have the mansion on the hill. You're living in a rent subsidized apartment. Next year, you're not going to be on the mansion on the hill.
Yeah, just because you
Right.
put it on your vision board and think about it a lot.
Right. But you can have a deep desire to have your own home. And you can say, what more can I do today to move forward to that? That's when you just say, you don't know. But now you're opening up to the possibilities and you're getting curious.
Yeah, I think there's a couple parts of it. Like one part is if you put down something on your vision board that your deeper self doesn't want you to have because it knows it's bad for you and will make things worse, you're going to have a lot of friction along the way. So for me, I wanted a certain business I was doing before to work and I couldn't get it to work. And it's because we just defined that earlier, my true self integrated with myself that exists here didn't really want it. I thought I wanted it, but I didn't want it. So you could make that happen, I suppose, but you really don't want to. So I had to learn. I think a lot of people think because the law of attraction is being taught poorly. It's being taught what do you want? Believe you're going to get it. Trick your unconscious mind into believing it's going to get it. All these kinds of things. But if you don't know yourself first, how do you know what you want?
Exactly. You're wanting, we're now back to external, which is not real.
Right.
Right. And yes, we live in a world where we have a physical perspective of stuff. We are projecting physical stuff. But if it doesn't serve who you are, this is why being a mission realmer, being on the road, I was miserable for so many years trying to put roots down, man. I was trying so hard to put roots down. Maybe this time I'll put down roots, right? This is it. This is it, right? And then something would happen and I'd be up and moving again until I realized that that's not ever going to happen for me because it's not in alignment with who I am.
Yeah, the
Right.
alignment part is important. So how do you do this? I think we all have our own ways. For me, it starts with a daily check-in. So I'd carve off 30 minutes and I'd check in with yourself and just ask yourself what's going on here and listen to those answers. No meditation, no headphones, no music, like none of that. It's just you. Moving around is good, particularly in nature. The second phase of the 5 steps is vision. So just imagine having what you want, but expand your mind a lot. Like, don't be practical at that phase, but don't make it just a thing related to safety or security or being important or something like what you've always like what you wanted as a kid in a way. Like tap into that feeling of what's my ideal life like, and then in the third phase you're going into a actually, I got it backwards. The second phase is the emotional experience. So in the first
Right.
phase, you're going to feel emotions. You want to start having the emotional experience, even if it's painful. Don't try to push it out of the way. Let
Oh,
it go
no, sit with it.
through. Let it
Hmm.
go through. And then the other side, you'll start seeing this vision, if you don't already have it, of what you really want. That's where your truth is. What you need to do is in that next stage. And you're going to start to see that. The fourth step is you start to ask for help to figure out how to do the thing that you want. So you want to ask questions of yourself to understand, what am I supposed to do here?
Hmm.
And then in the final stage, it's affirmation oriented. It's like, oh, okay, how am I going to do this? What do I need to tell myself? What do I need to know? What do I need to do?
Right. And who do I need to bring in? And, how is this going to happen? Even like, Larry, I have no idea how we met. Someone asked, well, how did you meet Larry? And I'm like,
I reached out to you. I reached out to you on LinkedIn cold.
I think, and I never accept cold. I mean, I block that stuff, right? And I'm like, who is this guy? Okay, I'll talk to you. Why? I don't know. Because I'm looking to get the message out there, that
Yeah.
it's time to get the message out there. And for me, whether it's you, me, or someone else, whatever it takes to elevate this world.
Every
And I
single
want to,
thing that's happening to me is automatically happening. I
right,
do not really plan. I have no goals. I don't plan. I have no strategies. I don't have a to-do list. I have intention. I have focused intention. I'm spending 90% of my time engaging with the entrepreneurial community and telling my story in it, around what I'm doing and what I think and what will be helpful to people. So
right.
I'm not fragmenting my energy. So there's intent, but there's no plan.
So what of our, because I can see what's going on here. It does help me to dream big, um, though from time to time, so that I can look at the essence, look at the essence. Yes. And that's the energy that you're talking about. The essence is the energy, right?
Yes.
Right. And so dreaming big still is, like you were saying, Larry, beyond, don't put parameters on it, get a huge, right? And the less specific, but the more energetic, the better.
So I have a, I would say for me, specifics important, but the specific gets filled in for me. So I'm starting with an emergence of
Hmm.
that idea coming out of me. And it's always related to truth telling, exploring, leading. Those are my kind of imprinted preferences. But it gets really specific. It's like these 10 people are going to sign up in September to
Oh,
do
how
this
interesting.
thing. It's
How
very, very
interesting.
specific. And then I start getting instructions about how to do it.
Oh, okay. So I just get feelings. I don't get that. When I get specific, then I put blinders up and I miss stuff. So right. So this, everyone's different, right?
Let's talk about that. Yeah. So
Right.
there's 5 ways to access this energy. So I access it through mind. So I get these very, very complex, intricate systems that I embrace, and they're whole. And I just have to kind of figure out, like, how do I explain this? How do I organize it? Others get it through a intuitive body feeling. So
Right.
people like this look at me and they're like, "You're in your head." And I'm like, "No, I'm not.
No,
Not at all." I think we talked about this before,
it's
actually.
just
You
the
come
heart.
from heart
Hmm.
expansion. So you're not gonna get these specific. I
No,
do.
that closes me off. Right.
Right.
So I have
Right.
to
'Cause
open
you're
up.
closing your
Right.
heart then. Yeah.
Right. I have to open up. But what's really, really interesting is, again, that the event, there was something going on in the event, and I had complete deja vu. Not a moment, but the whole thing that was playing out was deja vu. And I'm like, I don't remember when I saw this before, but man, I've been here already.
Yeah. Well, you have,
Right.
right?
Right. And just watched it play out, knowing what was going to happen next. Right. And just being kind of interesting that, huh. And so we do see it, but not the way that you see it, Larry.
Yes, it's
Right.
different. It's
Yeah.
different. These are imprints, and the fourth one is a visualization of a schematic. I don't understand that at all. That
Yeah.
is different from information coming into mind. Fifth is an artistic, almost like an artistic object that
Hmm.
wants to come out of your mind. So I don't understand those people at all.
Okay.
But I do, because it's the same thing experienced in a very different way.
Oh my God. I worked with someone who was doing pranic healing on me, and they said, "Oh, I see a ruler in your heart." I said, "Okay, what does that mean?"
Object in mind person. It's an object in mind person. I don't understand how that works. Those are artists often.
Right.
Musicians are, but it doesn't have to be.
So that's why Larry and I, when we work with people, we don't get specific, right? And we don't know what we're going to say, because it has to be something that resonates with you. And that
So
means it's not our ego that's talking to you. It can't be.
so I don't really work with people, so it's different for me. So I'm not um opening to a healing or flowing energy state that's coming out of me and into them. What I'm doing, so there's 5 different ways of doing it. So I'm what's called, in my system at least, an energy an injector, sort of. If that's not the right word, I forget what I use, but energy acceptor. I can see the truth in someone else
Mm.
with their permission, by accepting that truth into me, seeing it, and then giving it back to them in a way they can understand. That's what I'm doing.
So you're like a mirror, but you process it a little
I
bit
am the
before.
mirror.
Yeah.
Yes, I am the mirror.
Yeah.
And for me, it's all about the system. It's not about me. I don't see myself as a coach at
Right.
all. I see
Right.
myself as a creator of a system for people who will teach themselves as they're going through it with a bit of guidance.
Right. And I have no system.
Yeah, we're the
Though
opposite.
I'm connected to a billion systems, and I tap into the system,
Yes.
um, and and know that whatever I have to say is something you have to hear.
Yes, we're doing the same thing for different people in very, very different ways. And this is
Right.
designed. This is so when people think of God or whatever you want to call it, spirit, it's manifested in forms that have different purposes. It's extraordinarily complex when you
Yes.
start delving into it. It is not so people are like, well, God is talking to me. And I'm wondering, I'm like, yes, but or yes, and okay,
Right.
what I would say is yourself is talking to you and yourself
Because you are
is
God.
enveloped in
Right.
this, and there's guides up there, and
Mhm.
there's all kinds of stuff going on. And I
Is
ask a
it-
lot, who the hell are you and what's going on? And then
Right.
sometimes
So
it's
much.
it's
And I
beyond
told, and I'm
what we're
sure I
talking
said it here on this program is, taking a nature walk one time, and I had this brilliant idea, and I said, "Is that you or is that me?" And the response was, "It doesn't matter."
Oh, I ask that all the time, and I get a it's you, and then that's basically they're saying it's saying I'm saying to myself, get out of the way because you just took over the conversation and you're going to do something stupid
Right,
because
right.
you think
Well,
it's
they
you.
said it didn't matter. It didn't matter
Yes,
because we're the same.
uh,
So,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
so I stopped asking, who's telling me. I just listen.
So we
I just
got a couple more minutes. I'm going to end
Mhm.
with something that I thought was funny yesterday. So
Okay.
I do an event every other week on Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern, with a friend of mine, Sajad Hussein. And I opened by just saying, what are you, stupid? And then I said, well, people aren't stupid. And I did this whole thing. I never would have done that, but I was thinking about George Carlin the day before. George Carlin would have done that. And I feel like I was inspired by George Carlin, and I removed myself from the room for those few minutes there and allowed that to happen. The reason I'm mentioning it is I want people to realize this is the most important thing you can do in your life, because when you come through the other side of something like this, or even if you move closer, you will have unlimited opportunities to do things you didn't think where you could possibly do, because you have access to this power system.
Right, right. So if a coach doesn't work for you, how about guides? That's how I thought of you. Yeah, I never really was much of a coach. I'm not going to sit there and cheer you on, and I'm not going to do the accountability stuff. That's um, if that's what you want, I'll introduce you to some people.
Well,
Right,
if people want to make money and they're struggling to get themselves organized and productive, and they have no entrepreneurial skills, even though they're solopreneurs, I introduce them to Sajad
right,
because I'm like, I can't deal with that problem.
right, right.
Mhm.
So yeah, and this is what collaboration and networking and things like that are interested with. I will remove your blocks. I will help you remove your blocks. You know, but you have to sit with them first. That's why I didn't get rid of that gentleman's wall. He
Yep.
has to face that wall. So
That's
we didn't
that's
get rid of it.
fine.
We just
Yeah.
moved it out of his way.
And what I'm doing is I'm helping entrepreneurs realize visions that really matter and get everything that they always wanted in their life. So
Right?
they can access this energy with a system for high performing, successful entrepreneurs.
Which is an amazing system.
So anybody who wants to connect with us, I've got my YouTube link up here. Gail's link will be there as well. Gail, how should they get in touch with you?
Well, in the meantime, they can get in touch with me through LinkedIn, but they have to tell me that they saw me on this program, And that's Gail Kraft on LinkedIn, Kraft, Gail, Kraft, because I won't accept you as a friend if it's just cold. That's why I'm very surprised that I responded to you. No, I don't, because then you start marketing to me and I'm like, then I have to block you. So,
All right. Thanks again, Gail. See you next week.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.